I'm Clint Wilkins, Director of Education for the Heroic Imagination Project, and we are now going to rehearse our bystander lesson intervention. Why the bystander effect? The bystander effect is perhaps the most accessible of all of our interventions, of all of our lessons. Most people have heard of the bystander effect, and it is the lesson, the intervention that we have tested in a variety of settings. One of our major tendencies is to watch and wait, is to stand on the sidelines and to look and size up situations. That, in a way, is the bystander effect. We're teaching young people to stand up, speak out, and act courageously in challenging situations. So what better place to start to practice than to overcome that tendency to watch and wait? Now, there are some cases when it is advisable, even responsible, not to jump in. But we want young people to at least understand the situation they're in and understand sort of the cost-benefit relationship in terms of how and when they act. The format for each of these 8 activities is as follows. I'm going to start with identifying some key outcomes, some major points about each activity to essentially warm us up. And I want you to be sort of holding some of those thoughts as we go through the activity to see if we actually met those student objectives or main points. That's point number 1. Then we go into the instructions. Then we'll do the activity itself, and then we'll have a chance for questions and answers. While we're doing the activity itself, I'm asking you to refrain from asking questions about the activity. You can ask questions during the instructions or clarifying questions about the key outcomes, but we really want to preserve the activity itself so that we get good footage. Does that make sense? The first thing I want to say about these about the intervention is that it's very important that you set the right tone. Why tone? Well, we're asking kids, the outcome of this intervention, to be more courageous, to be able to stand up and speak out, whatever the situation may be. And to do that requires a certain comfort level, a certain sense of belonging, a certain sense of acceptance, and an environment, a learning environment, where you're really setting a good example and kids can take some risks. And if they're intimidated, or if there are snide comments, or people are rolling their eyes or whatever, it can undermine the entire intervention. So we're asking kids to take some risks, to get out of their comfort zones. So make sure that you're setting the right tone. It reminds me of one of my favorite quotes from Maya Angelou. And she said, she was talking about courage. And after all, this is what we're asking kids to do. Whether it's raising their hand in a class and challenging a popular student or the teacher, asking for a point of clarification, or if they're out in their community to take the lead in an emergency situation, whatever it may be, it involves a certain amount of courage. And Maya Angelou once said, without courage, we cannot practice any other virtue with consistency. So in some ways, courage is the pivot point, is the activator of all kinds of other pro-social qualities that we're looking for and that we're cultivating in young people. So set the right tone so that kids are not stigmatized, are not fearful of exposing some of their weaknesses. So it's very important that you do this. Respect these students as full partners. They're, after all, scientists in training, and they're really good at identifying any adult hypocrisy or anything that may be inconsistent in a lesson. So go with it. Don't come to the intervention with a moral agenda. We avoid all should words. Inspire trust. Create an environment of trust. Use humor. Be kind. And one of the most important things is surprise them. We want them to have all kinds of aha experiences. So it's really important to set the right tone. Does that make sense? After all, we're asking these kids to be courageous. The first step in their journey, their transformation from being bystanders to upstanding citizens.